Anyway, Rep Pierick asked me. All right. Can you hear me okay,
Yes, I muted everybody
Elijah?
except
Okay,
us.
great. Okay, good. Thanks. Yeah, so Rep Pierick asked me to co-host this town hall so we can discuss, maybe collectively come up to with some solutions on how to deal with feral cats. And so I'm looking forward to a robust conversation and possibly come up with some solutions. So I will go ahead and I'm the chair of the Agriculture Environment Committee. I have been for the last 8 years, and so I've come across this issue in various uh, ways in the listening to having our hearings every year, and this has come up a few times as far as bills. So we'll start off. I will let's see, introduce Stephanie. Hang on, where is it? Stephanie here.
I'm here, Senator.
Where's Stephanie? Stephanie, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, and we'll start off with you, okay?
Mahalo. If I can share screen, I've got a few slides to share with everybody. And we didn't know who the audience was going to be for this meeting. So seeing at least some folks who I recognize on here, a lot of this is going to be very familiar to you. But if we have a broader audience who may not be so familiar with these issues, wanted to first go over some definitions,
Let's go.
then talk a little bit about local versus mainland animal welfare attitudes toward this population, and share with you some brand new research that we just got back. Hawaiian Humane commissions a community attitudes and perceptions survey every few years, and we just got the 2024 results and have some good data on the free roaming cat issue that I can also share. And then I'll be handing it over to my colleague in animal welfare, Inga Gibson, who is going to share more about the conservation perspective and areas of cooperation that we've identified with some of the conservation partners who we work with on a regular basis.
Okay, just a second, Steph.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, thank you so much for being on the call. If we could limit each presenter to just 2 short minutes, that way we
Okay.
have enough time for all the presenters to share concisely.
I will get through this as quickly as I can. Um, so free roaming cats is the term that we prefer to use for cats on the landscape. And the reason for that is that it's a very diverse population of animals. So it includes pet cats who are allowed outside. It includes pet cats who've been abandoned by their owners. It includes truly unsocialized cats, which is the definition of feral. So cats who aren't socialized to human beings and can't safely be handled and that sort of thing. But most of the cats that we see on the landscape, if we're seeing them, have been or are still socialized to human behavior to some extent, or they would be hiding from you. So most of the cats that we see on the landscape are not truly feral. Trap, neuter, return is a system for humanely managing free roaming cats that traps cats for spay and neuter where they're living and returns them to those areas without any ongoing care provided. Trap, neuter, return, manage, which is the strategy that Hawaiian Humane endorses most strongly, includes that management component. So these cats aren't just returned to where they're living outdoors. They have a caregiver who provides purely on a volunteer basis for their ongoing medical care, that monitors the colony to see if new cats are being dropped off, that watches for kittens who can be socialized and brought into homes. So that managed component is super important, particularly here in Hawaii with our unique ecosystem. Shelter, neuter, return is an increasingly popular strategy across the mainland, and that's when animal welfare organizations themselves, such as ours, take in cats, neuter them, and return them to where they are living. Trap, neuter, return, and trap, neuter, return, manage are done by volunteers, not animal welfare organizations themselves, or not shelters themselves, I should say. Some animal welfare organizations absolutely do that. Cat sanctuaries, this is a picture of the Lanai Cat Sanctuary, is something that you'll hear conservation folks talk about a great deal. And we absolutely believe that they have a place in free roaming cat management, but it's a very limited place. They tend to fill up very quickly. Oahu actually has cat sanctuaries, though none of them are taking new cats, because it's a very financially and labor intensive endeavor. So cat sanctuaries can be a part of the strategy, but they are not a population management tool. The only effective population management tool that we endorse is TNR and TNRM. So the mainland is evolving quickly on this issue to the extent that most mainland shelters now believe that cats are increasingly better off outdoors than in shelters. They don't even want to take friendly cats in for adoption because, yes, sorry.
Hey, thank you again for presenting. We've got 7 presenters today, so I just want to say thank you so much for your eagerness with all these information. But if I could just kind of streamline the town hall just a little bit, we recognize that there's a lot of cats out there that we want to help decrease the feral cat population. So if we kind of condense this just a little bit towards the solution, that would help our flow a little bit.
Sure. So I will skip through some of this data that we've got on owned cats. What we've found is there has been a real advance in the community's treatment of free roaming cats, particularly over the last 6 years. So the number of cats that each individual who reports caring for cats reports caring for is decreased from more than 8 cats per person to a little over 3.5 cats per person. We see that as a sign that we're making progress in terms of reducing the size of groups of cats living outdoors. And even better news, and this is my favorite result from our new research, the percentage of caregivers who report that the cats they're caring for have been spayed and neutered has gone all the way from 38% 6 years ago to 70% in 2024. That's an incredible jump in a short amount of time. And it coincides with the creation and increased funding for the city's Feline Fix program, which allows those caregivers to have cats spayed and neutered free of charge. So we are making progress on this issue, which I think is really important for us to pay attention to. I will skip through these in the interest of time. I did want to share a new data point for us this year. This is the first time we've asked this question, and that is we asked residents across Oahu what sort of strategies they support for the management of free roaming cats. They were allowed to pick more than one answer. The most and the terms were explained to them. The most popular answer was mandatory spay neuter for free roaming cats, followed by TNRM and then TNR. Mandatory spay neuter for pet cats was supported by less than half of the population, but still had fairly strong support. Trap euthanize, which is the most humane mechanism for lethal control and the only one we asked about, only received 27% of support. Trap euthanize is not the method usually employed by conservation. Conservation tends to employ kill traps and trapping and shooting cats. We didn't pull on those strategies, but we assumed that they would be less popular than the more humane trap and euthanize option. And that is the end of my slides. I am absolutely available for questions.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Steph. We're going to pause the questions, let everybody present first, and then come up with questions. Senator Gabbard, do you have your next guest panelist?
Yes. Next will be Inga Gibson. And Inga, just give the organization you're affiliated with, please.
Sure. Hi, aloha, everyone. I am so sorry. I prepared a presentation because this is a very complex issue that has obviously been affecting all of us for many, many decades that cannot possibly be discussed in 3 minutes or even 3 hours. And this is why it's so important, as you know, being a policy advocate, to talk with your legislators before session, because you only get 2 minutes when you get to speak to them before committee, and 1 more minute really just doesn't do it. So I talk really fast, but I mean, and I'm not possibly going to get to these complex issues. It's almost dangerous to even touch on them without having the time to go through them. But the bottom line is that There have been efforts ongoing. I was part of one of the first efforts back in 2010. So was Jennifer and others, to bring wildlife and animal welfare advocates together, because there's, obviously always been this consistent conflict. And what we've realized is really, this is about human dimensions. This is about social constructs. This is not so much about the conflict between the animals. This is about the conflict between humans about animal issues. And that's why to say solutions, it is so subjective, because there's so many factors to consider because of the way that you're thinking about these animals. Obviously, we have to think of wildlife. We're the threatened and endangered species capital of the world. We have, critically endangered monk seals numbering at 1,500 that absolutely are at, a risk of toxoplasmosis, which is carried by the definitive host, which are cats. But we also know that cats have intrinsic value and that they are not considered invasive species, that they are, part of our lives and our homes, and people care a lot about these animals. So while scientists may say, or some scientists may say, if you have an invasive species, you just eradicate or attempt to eradicate. That is not a solution in this case, but there is a lot of common ground as part of these task forces between various animal welfare agencies and state and federal agencies. They have recognized the common ground, and that is we all want to reduce the numbers of cats on the landscape. And we all have to accept that that means that we're going to have to better communicate and understand one another, because we're coming from completely different perspectives. As Steph mentioned, a lot of wildlife professionals, to them, it's trap and remove. Once the animal's off the landscape, it's no longer a problem. But we all know, especially advocates who dedicate so much of their time and own expenses to trap, neuter, return, manage, know that they're helping the problem because they're reducing the numbers of the cats. Wildlife advocates can say, well, sterilized cats are still going to predate upon wildlife, but nobody can argue that a spayed and neutered cat is reducing the population. And we all agree we need to reduce that population. So there's been a lot of vitriol earlier on in these conversations. So I think we're finally getting to a point where we can actually speak with one another, speak to each other, not at each other, but actually to each other, and recognizing some of these collaborations. This is kind of back to the human dimension, where cats to some are perceived as, nuisance animals, versus to others that they're perceived as pets, just like, a homeless dog or any other pet animal in need of care and protection. So what we have agreed upon, generally speaking, with the majority in the wildlife community, is to focus on the new sources of cats. So obviously, what is contributing to more cats? This is lost or abandoned pets, owned cats that are allowed to free roam. So this is where we found, I think, the most hope in common ground. And that's why spay-neuter funding is so important. That's why pet-friendly rentals, where people can actually take their cats with them when they move. That's why fencing projects like Kiana Point are so important, because that's exclusion. You're excluding potential predators. You're protecting the wildlife within those areas. So I think there is a lot of hope as long as the communication continues. There is not a one-size-fits-all solution to this issue whatsoever. You cannot kill your way out of the cat issue. You cannot euthanize your way out of it. But there are definitely steps that can be taken. I think a lot of it is understanding where the other is coming from, recognizing that Hawaii does have unique issues with our wildlife that aren't present maybe in other parts of the country, where some, general trap and return without the management program would be acceptable. We have to acknowledge that there are definitely areas in Hawaii, in sensitive areas, where there should not be cats. And that is really where we've also found the common ground. The most contentious within this issue I have found is where the rubber hits the road is on the methodology, and also the actual implementation. It's getting the wildlife folks to create priority areas where there should not be cats because they are a direct threat. And you find that generally those areas, such as I'm thinking of Kauai, there isn't that human nexus. And that's where you see the most conflict, when you have people that have a direct interaction with the cats, whether they're feeding them, part of a managed colony, abandoned pets. versus these remote areas where they are truly, truly, truly feral cats without any kind of connection to a person. So there is hope. I know I'm over 3 minutes, and we've seen a number of, horrific animal cruelty cases. They happen sadly all the time. People take matters into their own hands. Here you see a cat that was killed, and obviously whether or not they did it in the name of the threat of toxo or otherwise is completely unacceptable. And we know that we need to, obviously as cat advocates, as wildlife advocates, not tolerate any kind of cruelty. There's nothing acceptable. I've worked with Senator Gabbard for 17 years now, and we've, strengthened the animal cruelty law. We've increased penalties for the intentional abandonment of pets. It was a $50 fine. Now it's $1,000. Obviously, it should be higher, but we're doing what we can. So we hope to have the legislators support this coming session with bills that would increase spay-neuter funding, pet-friendly rentals, and oppose any bills that would attempt to outright prohibit trap, neuter, return, manage, because that really is not the solution whatsoever. We need to keep speaking, and we need more time to speak. So thank you, Rep. Thank you, Senator.
Of course. Okay, Senator Gabbard, your third presenter.
Who did I have?
Oh, that was all. Just the two.
Just the two, yeah.
Excellent. Okay, thank you both. And now Dr. Jennifer Kishimori, you're on.
I am, but I am not a doctor. So I have been with Cat Friends since the 90s. We formed, it's technically called Abandoned and Feral Cat Friends, but we go by Cat Friends. And this year we have already sterilized more than 6,000 cats. And a lot of that was thanks to the Feline Fix program that gave us the ability to afford to do so much. We have encountered problems where we don't have a location. Unfortunately, the Humane Society is not willing to let us use their facility on days that they are not doing surgeries, even if we bring in our whole team and drugs and so forth. So we are eagerly looking for a place. I don't know if the city and county has a location that we could use, but we could increase those numbers if we could do a full-time spay-neuter clinic. Right now we do weekends when we hire vets that are available, and they do it for a very low cost for us, and they've been fabulous. Last year we did 5,000, so we've already gone up 1,000, increasing our numbers, but we really want to do more than that for the community to decrease the population.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Jennifer. I really appreciate it. All right, up next is Shauna Mead. Okay, they're on the call. It just hasn't tuned in yet. I mean, they're not undoing their mic. Shauna Mead, can you hear us? For the sake of time, we'll go to the next person. Eliane Lau.
Hi, can everyone hear me?
Yes.
I'm Dr. Eliane Lau. I am a veterinarian and the owner of Paradise Cat Care, the only cat-only hospital on the island of Oahu. I also do some work on the weekends for cat friends, helping them spay and neuter cats. I've been doing it helping them for at least 9 years. And what I want to say is fundamentally, this is a fixable problem on island. The fact that Cat Friends, and I can't speak for other nonprofit organizations because I only have done work for Cat Friends, but as a very small nonprofit with a staff of less than 3, I believe, working only on the weekends, on their days off, outside of their regular full-time job, they're able to spay 6,000 cats a year. Just a few people and an army of volunteers that love cats, that do it for free because they love cats. 6,000 cats, just a tiny, tiny, tiny nonprofit. Every cat that's spayed and neutered, and people can argue on the numbers, but the number I use is 1,000. I tell people every cat you spay and neuter prevents 1,000 cats from being born in the next 10 years. That's an immense impact. So this is, I believe, if we channeled our resources and used it in the most efficient way, very, very fixable. I believe Cat Friends only uses 4 vets on their off time to do this. Maybe a couple more, but not much more. We have the resources on this island to fix this. Fundamentally, what the problem is there are people that love cats, and there are people that don't love cats as much, and there are people that outright hate cats. And these are very, very different groups of people you're talking to. And they all, not everyone has to love cats to support these measures. Trap, neuter, return benefits, when I tell people about it, it benefits everyone. It benefits even people that strongly dislike cats. It's very expensive to trap and euthanize as well. Those tax dollars, I truly believe that trap, neuter, return is the most effective solution, not just because theoretically it's the most effective solution, but it's a solution that gathers the most volunteers to help for free. That's why trap, neuter, return efforts are so successful. It's because armies of people are willing to go trap for hours and hours and hours every week and do this work for free because they love cats and they don't want to see them euthanized. So I think that a huge PR campaign that makes it obvious that TNR is not just promoted by cat lovers, but also benefits people that strongly dislike cats is our best chance at getting something with consensus from everyone. And those are my thoughts on the situation. Does anyone have any questions or comments?
Well, thank you so much, Eliane. We'll pause questions until all the panelists present, but again, thank you so much for presenting. Our next person is Leilani Ng with Kat Charities. Are you on? Leilani with Kat Charities.
Leilani, you're muted.
And just to clarify, folks, I'm Karen Tyson with Kat Charities. Leilani is actually the executive director of Aloha Kitty TNR. We work closely, but she is not Kat Charities. That was just a typo.
No, I'm not Kat Charities. Karen Tyson is Kat Charities. I'm Aloha Kitty TNR. I actually do a lot of field work, going out into the community, getting a bunch of cats spay neutered, actually also getting cats that belong to people, which I currently right now have in my van, that showed up at a colony, and we are trying to reunite this cat with the owner, but we have so far been unsuccessful for the last 2 days. So with that, a lot of pet abandonment issues are really, really high. This week alone, we have picked up 4 cats from different locations on the island that are registered to people that have actually adopted either through the Hawaii Cat Cafe, through HHS, through Cat Charities, and their contact info is no longer. They've either rehomed them and not updated the information, and then whoever's gotten them have literally tossed them into the wild, into other people's, feral cat populations or the cat communities where they may or may not be welcome, And a lot of them, we have one right now that's completely skinny and emaciated and just not doing super well. So now this one has to be euthanized. But on the other hand, but I'm out there. We average, because the surgery, has been low lately. Last year, we averaged between 120 and 200 cats spay and neutered per month. So That is our target goal, to help reduce the population. And then we also work with USDA, and we also work with Fish and Wildlife on the conservation side, with the monk seals and the Koloa ducks and the shearwaters and everything else.
Excellent. Thank you so
Trap,
much.
neuter, return is the way to do it. And then, of course, education of all the people taking care of the colonies as to proper feeding, things like that. That's also important. That plays a critical role in the conservation aspect of it.
Excellent. Appreciate it. Next, we have Karen Tyson.
Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Karen Tyson, and I am the Executive Director of Kat Charities. And I am a big advocate and supporter of Trap, Neuter, Return. I work closely with all of these cat rescues, Jennifer, Leilani, Hawaii Humane, Lucky Paws. I mean, all the different organizations, we work really closely, and we really rely on each other to help support each other and to be resourceful together, and we can make a really big impact together. I take care of a large colony in Kapolei, and I just want to share some numbers to show you how this TNR actually has a positive impact. When I got involved with this colony about 6 years ago, there was over 400 cats at this location, and these cats were multiplying rapidly. And I got permission from the store manager to come in and implement a trap, neuter, return, manage policy. I got a group of about 20 volunteers who feed 7 nights a week. And we also do trap, neuter, return. So we trap out there sometimes weekly. In the beginning, it was weekly. Now we can trap every, month. And that colony was over 400 cats when we started. When we got that colony managed properly, within a couple years, we had that colony down to, and this is about 4 years later, to less than 100 cats. Okay. How on earth did we do that? We didn't kill any cats. We didn't, do any of that. Here's what we did. We managed incoming cats that are being dumped almost daily. So friendlies were whisked out of there and gotten adopted. Kittens were pulled that were abandoned there and taken out of the environment. Other cats get run over, get attacked by dogs, die of disease or, starvation or, well, not necessarily starvation, there's feeders, but, they may have something, a heart condition or different diseases, cancer, whatever. And when we got all of these kitties, we would vaccinate them all. And if we see that they are needing vet care, we would take them to the vet and get them vet care. And we got that population down to less than 100 cats. And just through natural attrition and cruelty and everything else that happens that is beyond our control, that number, because they weren't reproducing, was very, very, very manageable. A quarter of the population in 4 or 5 years. It's pretty amazing. Okay. Then management changed. And management they came from the mainland, and they had a policy of let's just call in pest control and kill all these cats and get them out of here, and we're not feeding the cats anymore. I tried to educate and explain why that wouldn't work. Nope, this guy knew better than I knew. And so this is what they did. And I said, if this is the route you're going to take, I'm not going to manage this colony. And so I stepped away briefly. And he did whatever he did. And within about 6 months, he called me back and he said, our population's exploding. We got rid of all these cats and I need your help. And I said, okay, I'll come back in and do this, but you're going to follow the rules. And so then we came back in, management changed again. I managed to start to get those numbers down again. Management changed again. I now have another non-loving cat person in there, and the numbers are right back up because I can't get access to be able to properly care for this colony. TNR and management works if you have access and you're able to do it. The other thing that we really have that I really need to discuss quickly, dumping and abandoning animals. Last night, I was out in the field trapping cats. I'm working now with Dr. Kelly from Aloha Affordable, and she's fixing for me between 40 and 50 cats a week that I can go out and trap. Last night, I came into a gentleman who works for Able Pest Control I'll just tell you who it was. And he said to me, now that HHS doesn't take cats anymore to euthanize ferals, what they do is they just take the cats and they just dump them in another colony. And I said to him, please understand what you're doing to me as a trapper. That cat has now experienced this incredible trauma going somewhere where they don't know. They're not fixed. And now I've got a cat that's going to be trap weary and won't go into a trap. Makes it much harder for me to catch this cat. And we're now just reproducing and dumping the problem on somebody else. And he says, well, what do you want me to do? Drown him? And I said, no, what I want you to do. And so I actually gave this guy my card. And I said, when this happens, you call me. And I will get these kitties fixed and I will help you find a solution. But we need better laws for animal cruelty. We need education for abandonment and pet ownership. We need the military to step up, and any animal that goes on a military base must be registered and microchipped and fixed. Slam dunk, end of conversation. And I'm a military family, but these are some of my biggest problem areas. So trap, neuter, return can make a reduction in these numbers. And I know if we do this right, we can make a huge impact and protect our wildlife, which is also very important to us.
Great job, Karen. Excellent. Okay, so that's everybody I had on my list. I know I called on Shauna Mead. If you're available, feel free to chime in. Just to clarify, has anybody else been invited to be a speaker, but I haven't acknowledged them yet?
Hi, I'm sorry, I was here. This is Shauna Mead. I couldn't unmute, I was driving. I don't have too much to say, but I would like to say hello. Again, I'm Shauna Mead. I'm a veterinarian. I work at a general practice in Eva Beach. I am a huge supporter of all these groups. I don't have much of presentation, but I guess my input would be, I guess feedback I get from clients is there's a lot of people coming from communities with colonies that they want to help, but they are still looking for more resources. Biggest complaints being inability to get into the Humane Society for spay neuter within a timely fashion. They're worried about trapping these pets. They don't want to keep them it's not humane, and it's not a option to keep a cat in a kennel in a trap for 3 days while they wait for an appointment. So we definitely, overall big feedback I'm getting from clientele is we need increased access to these. I got a cat, I need it spayed and neutered. I think that's a huge push that I would advocate for right now.
Excellent. Okay, thank you so much, Shauna Mead. So we've got some great suggestions from the community. Let's turn it over to Catherine Rex. Do you have a question for the panelists?
Okay, sorry, I've never used Zoom. Am I unmuted now?
We can hear you.
My biggest thing, the reason that I messaged you and Senator Gabbard about this, my two biggest questions probably for Senator Gabbard and Stephanie Kendrick to answer is, number one, what kinds of bills? I know these animal rescuers have been doing this forever, and I'm sure they've tried and everybody gets so overwhelmed with nothing being done. But my biggest question is, what kinds of bills have been introduced in the past regarding the feral cats? And then also, why haven't they passed? My guess is the number one reason is, well, we can't spend the money, right? Nobody wants these cats here. Whether you're an animal lover, a cat lover like I am and everybody else in this panel, or you hate cats like somebody else mentioned earlier, right? Nobody wants them here. So I don't understand, is it just strictly a financial aspect of why, why nothing's been done? Why won't our lawmakers do something about this once and for all? So those are my questions. Like, what's it going to take to get this done finally? You know what I mean?
Well, let me start off. Thanks for bringing this up. Over the years, we've actually passed some good dealing with animal cruelty. But in terms of feral cats, that when the bills are in it, first of all, we need to get the info from you guys, from the experts in the field who are actually doing this, right? You come up with the bills, and then it's up to us to talk to our colleagues and help convince them that they should vote in favor of those bills. And so what that also takes is your continued participation by coming in and testifying. And what's one of the pluses of the pandemic is that now you don't even have to go there in person. You can testify online whenever the hearing is, and then you get to actually tell your story. And so numbers count, and I don't mean the numbers where you have a petition and it's got 500 names on it. I'm talking about people who actually take the time out of their day to get online and talk about TNR and talk about the problems that are out there in the community. And so, but the solutions, that's what our session starts on January 15th. And now is the time to start talking story amongst each other and come up with, what do you folks, hopefully a consensus, what's the most important thing that we can get past this session? The top three. You've got my ear, of course. You've got Representative Pierick's ear, and then we will talk story with our relatives, our friends and colleagues, and see if we can get the thing passed. Yeah.
But is it always a financial aspect? Is that why nothing's been done in the past?
Not always. Not always. Yeah. Okay. And that's one of the weird things about politics, is that it could be something that is just totally have nothing to do with the issue at hand, and that's why relationships are so important in politics.
Yeah, like the thing that I mentioned before is, like, in the email to everybody, like, we can spend $750,000 a year to bring the LA Clippers here, but we can't spend any money on doing something once and for all about the feral cats. It's like, why don't, like somebody else mentioned before, we've said the same thing. I've heard from other people, like, so many people have a cat. Great, there's a cat, and I need it TNR'd. And you can't wait 3 or 4 or 5 days until until a clinic opens that you can get them in, or a clinic is full or something, And then so many times we go out to trap, it's like, oh, there's a cat. And then you go out to trap and it's like, they're nowhere to be found, on the nights that you trap. So like mass spay neuter clinics that people could go on different sides of the island and take these cats, you trap it, you take it to that clinic, and it gets spayed and neutered right then and there. I think that would help, and getting the word out and getting more participation from so many people. We have so many cats dumped out here where we're at, just like everybody does, just everywhere. And I've been trying to work, like Stephanie and I know we worked with the military on the animal abandonment problem, and we've been at this for years trying to get them to listen. It's very frustrating because they just abandon their animals in record numbers. Mm-hmm. It's disgusting.
Yeah. I had a question for Steph. Steph, when you were talking, what are you guys working on? Any initiatives, to increase the funding for, the free roaming cats, the FRCs for spay neuters? And that's number one. Number two, how can people who are tuned in and others who are not, because this is being recorded and therefore we can distribute this, how can those folks, what's best help on this issue?
Thank you, Senator. We're working on 2 different funding approaches. One is to restore and hopefully increase the funding that we've gotten from the city and county for Feline Fix, which has been so impactful, as we've all mentioned. That funding was cut in half in this fiscal year because of the city's financial straits. We are lobbying them very hard to get that restored for the coming fiscal year, and we would love to have everyone's support for that. On the state level, we have a bill that would create a statewide spay-neuter fund for the first time. As much as the state talks about this issue, it doesn't really have any financial skin in the game. All of the spay-neuter that happens across Hawaii is funded either by private grants and foundations or by the city or by the counties. And Honolulu has the best county funding, and as you can hear, it's not sufficient. So we definitely need more funding sources, and we'll be putting forward a bill to create a statewide spay-neuter fund that would make spay-neuter grants to any nonprofit organization that is engaged in that work across the state. It has 3 sources of revenue written into it right now. We would have a tax checkoff for anyone getting a tax refund could donate to the spay-neuter fund. We would be able to do one of those beautiful state license plates, if you've seen them, like the ones that the Park Service and Polynesian Voyaging Society have. We would design one of those for supporting spay-neuter efforts. And the state would also be able to contribute general fund revenues into that fund for grants. So we're really excited about trying to get that passed. I saw a comment in the chat about wanting to ensure that people who are bringing new cats into the state are required to spay neuter them. We support that 100%. There is going to be a bill this session that would require all pet cats to be spayed and neutered. And while we conceptually also support that, unfortunately, no one could comply because, as you've heard right now, it's very hard to get spay-neuter appointments because spay-neuter is under-resourced. So we need to fix the funding piece before we can start broadly requiring people to spay and neuter their animals, although we are 100% on board with people being required to spay and neuter their animals. So those are two initiatives that we're working on. And in answer to your question about how can people help, this is a really engaged group already that we're speaking with. My usual answer to that question in community settings is support the caregivers who are doing TNRM, but I'm talking to the caregivers who are doing TNRM. So I would just say, you know, keep up your wonderful work, and anybody who's not already on my advocacy list and what's to be kept informed of the bills that we are working on, please email me. I'll put my email in the chat and we can get you signed up for that, because it really does take all of our voices speaking together to make change. As Senator knows, because he and I have worked together for years now, lawmakers, you know, I have some access down there to talk about what our organization is interested in, but lawmakers really want to know what the constituents in their districts are interested in. They don't just want to know what the Hawaiian Humane Society is interested in. So if we have measures we're working on that you support and you can help us amplify that message, or Kathy Gogol, who's on the call, the messages that Animal Rights Hawaii is working on, the messages that Inga may be working on next session with her clients, you know, just get involved, help us, lend us your voices, because it makes an enormous difference.
Thank you, Steph.
Excellent. Tom Holowach. You're muted.
Okay, there we go. Hi, I'm Tom Holowach, and with my wife Holly, we comprise a part of the board of Poke Place, Oahu Cat Sanctuary, and we've been working for 4 years on trying to find a place to serve as a safety relief valve for all of the places for cats to go. Now, this is a thing that Lanai Cat Sanctuary has shown in the last 14 years is doable. It is a proven thing that if you take the cats, trap them, neuter them, and take the ones that cannot be adopted to a place which is fenced in, where they're taken care of, all their needs are they're fed. It makes a huge reduction in the number of cats that are in dangerous areas where they can possibly hurt our wildlife. We have been talking with NOAA and Fish and Wildlife about starting with the areas near the beaches, places where shearwaters nest, places where cats are a nuisance on a beach. We've been talking with people in Hawaii Kai about the interface between cats and humans, which accelerates in an urbanized area like Hawaii Kai and the infamous park and ride and all of that. Our problem has been that cat sanctuary has not been defined legally as anything. So for this past year, we've been working with the people working on Bill 64. Esther Kia-Aina and Andrea Topola especially has been helpful with this. They've been fixing the wording on that, and we still have an issue where they think that a cat sanctuary is the same as a cat shelter. And they think a cat shelter is like a place that has kennels in a building. We're trying to get them to change the wording of Bill 64 to allow us to be in a place which is in an Ag 2 zone, so we can have pasture land that we can fence in, and create something exactly like Lanai Cat Sanctuary. And we have a complete set of vision statements at popokiplace.org. And we also have a proposal that we have put in a Zoom package. So Senator Gabbard, Rep. Pierick, we would love to have you see our presentation. It's about 15 minutes long. And it really explains what the last piece of the puzzle is. Because after trap, after neuter, after return is managed. And the best place to manage the strays is in a place where they're separate from the rest of nature. Thanks so much.
Great. Okay, next we have Sylvia. After that is Roar.
Hang on, Elijah, just one second. Tom, did you, so you're working with the city and city council. Did you consider a bill at the state level as well?
Yes, actually, we started with the state, and I have to say that because we live on the windward side, Chris Lee has been working with us for 4 years. He actually went out and walked properties with us in Waimanalo. And what we've found is that our problem is actually with acquiring the land to do it on because of zoning issues. We've been working with Don Chang, who completely loves this idea. But the problem has been finding the location. And we were foolish to think that the state had lots of empty pieces of so-so land that they could give us. And that has proven to be untrue. Recently, we've been working more with the city, and with Mike Formby especially has been very helpful. And we're looking at places where the city and county might be able to help us. We've also been talking to the people at at the environmental management with the city, and we're looking at locating possibly on a former dump site in Kailua Quarry, the first one that dates back to the 50s, which has been covered over and capped since the 1970s, turning that into an enclosed place for cats. We've also been looking at a few other places around the island, keeping in mind that we need to put it in a place where it won't threaten the water supply, where it won't bother neighbors, and where we can actually, frankly, be safe from predators, both human and four-legged.
Okay. Yeah, Tom, I'm looking forward to seeing your presentation, and then we'll continue this conversation offline because I've got some ideas too. Great.
Great. Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you, Tom. All right, we got Sylvia, then Roaring Cares, and then Holly. So first, Sylvia.
Thank you very much. Sylvia Dolina, and I'm co-founder of Aloha Animal Advocates on the Big Island of Hawaii. I have a cat sanctuary of 250 cats and 5 dogs and lots of chickens. What I'd like to say is, for me, there's a little bit of an elephant in the room. And my question is, how are we going to get education to the public? On the Big Island, there seems to be a great divide between cat lovers and cat haters. And most of the cat haters appear to blame cats for just about everything. Now, we know that for the native birds, the #1 cause of native bird death and extinction is the disease-carrying mosquito. The second cause is loss of habitat. And those mosquitoes are getting up higher and higher in elevation as the native birds move up there. For the nene, we know it's starvation. We also know it's vehicular injury. So cats as predators fall lower on the list. And my question is, how can we get this education out? And if we really want to solve the problem of native bird extinction and wildlife extinction, we need to solve the right problem. And I'm not saying we shouldn't do trap, neuter, return, and manage. I strongly believe in that. And we have to do also alongside of that, in parallel with that, education, and also address saving our wildlife through not only education, but also addressing the mosquito issue, the loss of habitat issue, all of those issues that will help preserve our precious birds so that we can all live in unity on one island, 2 islands, 10 islands, however many that is. So thank you very much. And I love what all of you are doing. Mahalo.
Thank you. Perhaps Steph or one of the previous panelists want to answer that question?
Inga might have a more intelligent answer to that question than I do. I absolutely agree that we have a tendency to focus on the wrong things when it comes to preserving our native wildlife. It's a lot easier to criticize cats than it is to recognize our contribution to habitat loss. But a shameless plug for the senator who was one of our staunch supporters last year on a bill that Inga almost got passed that would have made cockfighting a felony, and the senator was in strong support despite a lot of upset among his colleagues that wound up killing the bill. And we've now dealing with avian flu in our state, which is going to be an incredible impact on our native wildlife because we refuse to fight the cockfighters and the activity they want to engage in on behalf of our animals. So you're so right, Sylvia. There's so many issues that we need to be focused on: avian flu, the mosquito-borne diseases, avian malaria. And we, as animal welfare, support all of those efforts, but those are complicated, and picking on cats seems to be easy. So,
thank you, Steph. Inga, do you have anything you'd like to share about advancing education? Okay. All right. The next.
It's not a solution, but I just want to add. I just want to add to what Sylvia said, and I agree 100%. I want to speak to the people at this meeting because it seems to me that everyone here really loves cats, like I do. And when people take surveys of whether people love cats or dogs, only 30% of people in society prefer cats, and 10% of society only like cats. 70% of our society prefers dogs. So the feelings that the population has towards cats are very different than the feelings that we have in this meeting. And I think it's important to be mindful of that. That when we talk, we assume that people want to be kind to cats. But there's so many people out there that really don't care what happens to these wonderful, adorable creatures. They just don't care about as much as you would care about a rat, maybe, or about a spider. That's how much they care about cats. You cannot educate that. You cannot speak to their sense of reason because that they don't share the same sentiment. But I truly feel that the end goal, reducing cat numbers in a humane way, there has to be some PR that educates people that TNR also benefits people that absolutely hate seeing cats around the island. It's the solution. And then getting people excited about it. Hey, do you want your tax dollars spent on inefficient cat management systems, or do you want your tax dollars spent towards AC for your kids in school? Well, this is the most effective way to get cat numbers down. So we're all on the same page about this, cat lovers and non-cat lovers alike. I don't know if there's any type of media PR firm that is available to us as constituents to work with to help get this message out, or if we have to seek out public PR resources on our own to do it on our own. But I think it's just messaging. I think we're sending out the wrong message.
Yeah. Eileen, I agree with you 100%. And I think that's getting that message out. And Sylvia also referred to it as well in terms of education. So we have to tell the story, right? And a documentary or something like that I know the young people who are involved with the Youth Council as far as climate change, they came out with one that is very moving. And once that starts getting circulated, and then you have that viral campaign, so people become actually aware of what's going on. Because the vast number of people, they don't, they're busy with their lives. They don't know what's going on, right? You talk, cats, who cares about cats, right? So we need funding and a creative message to come out in a, yeah.
Wonderful. Next, we have Roar and Cares, and then after that, Holly.
Aloha. Angela Melody Young from Roar Cares, Rescue of Animal Rights, Community Advocacy Research Education Services. So we're a grassroots movement, and we started to rescue neighborhood kittens, as well as we started to work with a few of the clinics and adoption cafes. So it's really great to see everyone like Popoki Place and Lucky Paws, Cat Friends, and of course, Toby's and Dreams at the Heart Station. They have a really amazing cafe, and of course, the Humane Society. So I want to focus not too much on the problems and the drama, because I think also there is a distortion of the discussion that cats are bad, right? So that's kind of like the dialogue that has to be adjusted is, and I think that also has to do with animal cruelty, why some people think that it's culturally acceptable to be cruel to animals. So we actually testified on House Bill 1580 for inhumane surgery procedures. And I think it was enacted last season. And then we started to testify, I think around 2021 or 2022, when the House Rep Patrick Bronco introduced a legislation about eradication. And so that was the first time when there were so many people gathered to stand up to fight for the cats. And so I think from my own personal perspective is that it's really good to get people to testify, especially doctors, surgeons, clinics, cafes. And this group today has a lot of very influential people that can move the bill forward. Hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Oh, okay. So we also testified for the recent bill at the city council, so funding to unrestrict the statutory parameters, the legal parameters for availability and accessibility of moving funds faster from the city council budget to Humane Society as a primary organizer so that they can then move faster with distribution of funds. So I am excited to testify next season with any new bills and resolutions that are going to be coming up. And the sanctuary space for building facilities, I think, is a really important discussion. And that so Roar, we've been researching the Hawaii Administrative Rules, Chapter 13, which designates the authority to the Department of Land and Natural Resources, DLNR, to permit wildlife sanctuaries. But of course, they prioritize Hawaiian and indigenous species. And they don't look so favorably upon cats because of kind of, I think, like the distorted discussion about cats being like evil. So and so I think I won't go into it too much, but I think the DLNR and the DPP's land use ordinance can be examined to further deliberate possibilities for sanctuary spaces from the state and the city. And then, of course, the medical value and significance of cats, I think, is going to be really important, as some of y'all were pointing out. So I don't think you need me to say anything about it. But the service animals and emotional support animals, if there were public policies to rationalize the medical value, the intrinsic significance based in statutory language, I think that would be more persuasive to get people to be more fond of cats because, for example, cats can lower high blood pressure. and also comfort humans suffering from distress, special needs persons with autism, and yeah, just like people with anxiety and all that. So yeah.
Thank you so much, Cares and Roars. We're going to go to Holly and then afterwards Sarah.
Aloha, everybody. First of all, I want to say mahalo nui loa Elijah and Mike Gabbard for having this call and engaging all of us. And I'm appreciative of the Coconut Wireless and people for telling me about it so I could be on this call. I am Holly Holowak. I am the founder of Popoki Place, Oahu Cat Sanctuary. And so far, we are a vision, a dream, an idea with a lot of support. But we don't have land yet. And so, Senator Gabbard, I came before you twice at the committee that you're in, the Ag Committee, because Chris Lee brought up two proposals. One was to allow sanctuaries on land as long as it was a benefit to the community. So we were trying to get that done, and it was unfortunately deferred and then never went anywhere. And then the next one was he was trying to get a bill that our TNR money would be a tax return item that you would check on your tax return that you wanted to give $5 or whatever. It was a voluntary thing that everybody would have the opportunity whether they wanted their tax dollars to go there or not. But that was also deferred, and it was kind of poo-pooed by the state financial department because it would be more troublesome to them to separate the money and all that. So as you can see by everybody that's on this call that's spoken so far, there's a huge amount of cat advocates on this island, in fact, the whole state. There are thousands of us that are literally working every single day to do the hard work for no money. And then there are some that are working crazy hours for money, or at least trying. They're not making anything, but they have their cat sanctuaries or their cat rescues, and they're trying to earn a living doing that. And we need your help. We need the community help, because there is nobody. You either are a cat lover, a cat hater, somebody in the government. Everybody wants a solution to this. Everybody wants less cats on the landscape, and how we get it done is different ways, but we need to support each other. And I love that you've brought us together and are open to hearing what needs to be done, because we're tired of hearing stories where somebody went out and just shot a bunch of cats up, or shot them with darts or BB guns, or poisoned them. Somebody that I know rescued a box of kittens that were taped in the dumpster. It's heartbreaking to have this stuff happen on a daily basis. Cruelty to animals is really horrible. And it's shocking and devastating to hear about this kind of thing on our beloved island full of aloha. We need land. That's the number one thing I need. I need 5 to 10 acres of land. We're trying to create the first ever large scale sanctuary, so we can be a pressure relief valve for the Humane Society, for the Kat Charities, Kat Tyson, Karen Tyson, Chris Thompson that are doing the hard work, Sarah with Love a Kat Charities. Everybody is trying really hard to get cats adopted out. And I just wanted to say also, we've been working with NOAA. I just recently spoke on a Zoom meeting with Kirsten Leon and people from the invasive species group, several people that are interested in what are we going to do. They wanted to see our presentation. So I invite any of you who want to see the presentation that we have about what Popoki Place is and what we're trying to accomplish, because we want to be open to the public in a large scale educational center that not only houses cats, for the long term, and we're trying to get the unfriendlies and the ones away from the beaches and the parks, so we can protect the monk seals and the birds first. So I would invite you to email me at holly@popokiplace.com if you want to know more about us, and if you want to create any laws, I'll be there to testify for you. Aloha and mahalo nui loa.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Holly. Before I pass it on to Sarah and then back to Roar and Cares, I want to share Senator Mike Gabbard's email and myself on the chat. And so just like Holly mentioned, if you have a bill idea or if you want to provide testimony to a bill that's already underway, for instance, the Humane Society, I believe, is sponsoring a bill in the state that has a lot of good ideas, please email Senator Mike Gabbard or myself so we can add you to a potential registry of people to reach out to once those bills have hearings, so you guys can come and basically follow along that bill and the whole process. Okay, Sarah?
Go right on like you can hear me. Okay, I'm Sarah Armstrong from Love a Cat Charity. We take in mostly kittens, fix them and adopt them out. We do also have a large colony. Let's see, we fixed almost 400 and it's down to 100 this year. Woohoo! Anyway, however, I do appreciate so much hearing about all the things that you're talking about, but I can't help but be reminded of the Weinberg story of the babies floating down the water and somebody's trying really hard to get the babies out of the water. And somebody says, well, wait, where are you going? And the guy says, I'm running up to see who's putting the babies in the stream. I think we need to do that more, to say, who is this? And perhaps a good way to start with that is to require people to have a law requiring people to have their cats fixed before they get on that airplane, so that military, for example, would have to have them fixed before they come here. So unless you're an official breeder, maybe we could leave those folks out. So there's not that to contend with. Let's fix them before they come here, and let's have a law to do that. That's it.
Excellent. Thank you so much. I don't see anyone else's hands raised, so I'm going to copy from my notes onto the chat here. This is a brief summary of everybody's feedback during the time we've been together. If I've missed your feedback, please email me. My email is there. Before we potentially close, is there anything else anybody would like to say?
Hello. Thank you.
Hello.
Both for the opportunity to talk about this issue. Representative Pierick, Senator Gabbard, it's so important. And you guys managed to convene an incredible group of people. I don't know that we have, this is like the Cat Brain Trust, man. So great conversation. Really good to see everybody. And thank you for doing this.
Yes. Hello. Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. I've been listening to this whole thing. It's amazing to hear this group of people because I'm on a very small scale. I've been dealing with the same thing in my neighborhood. I've taken it on myself and fixed like 15 or more cats and found homes for them. And this is just on a small scale in my neighborhood. Everybody was complaining. Nobody was doing anything. And I got tired of it. So I said, okay, I guess I'm taking it on. And so I've done that. And I've got it down to a very small number, prevented numerous cats from being born. So I'm going to keep it to a very short time, but I have a few points I want to bring up. Just think about this. Lahaina burned down. What was the last thing standing? The cats, right? There was all ashes, and then they were out there going through all the rubble and found cats still alive. So people that say that we're going to get rid of all these cats, just remember that story. I have a problem with the fact that we don't have enough places to fix them. I know this has been brought up in the notes numerous times. I've tried to go to the one in West Oahu over here. I'm out here on the west, and I tried to bring a cat in to get it fixed. I was told that the clinic wasn't even open until maybe next year. And I was shocked at that. And they couldn't even get a cage to trap a cat. So I don't know what's going on with that. I don't know why we can't provide traps at a minimum. And even maybe asking some of the veterinarians to basically give their time and services. If we don't have vets hired already for the Humane Society, there's many vets that would volunteer a day or so. I know they would do it because they do it already. They could do that until the clinic fully opens. There was a comment earlier in the meeting that said something about cat friends tried to use the facility and was told that they couldn't. I think that should change because there's many people out here I've talked to that they say, I'd like to trap the cat and bring it in, but I don't know what to do with it. I think we need some kind of there's a lot of stovepipes of areas that are fixing and doing great things, but there's no one consolidated like a cat hotline or something where you can call in and get an appointment. And maybe one day a week, each organization takes charge of that day of the week. And then the hotline refers them to appointments for that particular organization. Maybe there's because people trap them and then they're like, I don't know what to do with it. So they just let it go. I've seen that and I've heard that numerous times. And we had that discussion. I heard it today in the discussion. So I would somehow open up the West Oahu facility, like with volunteers, whatever it needed until it gets full of staff. I agree with the thing about military, civil service coming to the island. They must be required that they fix their pets, dogs and cats, before they arrive, or they don't bring them. Some kind of like say a hotline, command center, whatever you want to call it. Sounds kind of overdone, but something where a person can call. Right now, I've called every one of these organizations, not everyone, but many of them, and you get a recording. Nobody can talk to you. They're busy. They're doing this volunteer, which is great, but there's got to be some person on the line or something that can talk to them and say, here's what you need to do. You got a cat, you got an appointment, and here's a way to get it fixed. Right now, it's kind of a patchwork versus a coordinated effort by all the resources. That's what I've seen as I've tried to work my way through it. Education is way overdue. I mentioned in my comment that I think a West Oahu or one of the campuses has a video. I don't know what the formality of it, the name of it, but they train the students to do videos and, whatever it is, whatever the program is. That would be a perfect place to bring this problem to, for them to create maybe some videos or whatever that they could do to put out on the TV, put them out everywhere and educate the people on various points that we brought up in these meetings. I think that would be amazing. And I just want to say hi again. I saw Dr. Mead. Hey, Dr. Mead and Dr. Lau. You guys are both amazing. I've worked with both of you in the past a little bit. Thank you I don't want to spend any more time, but there's just a lot that needs. It's the bottom line of my discussion is bring all the great resources together. They're kind of scattered out there. So the person on the street, they call Humane Society, it's booked up. They call this, they finally just give up and they quit calling, and then the cat goes and multiplies. That's what I'm seeing as a person on the island.
Okay, thank you so much. I see Patty's hand, then Dee's hand, and then Jennifer's hand. Patty?
Hi, thank you. First of all, I wanted to say thank you for having this session. I'm just a regular citizen who loves cats and dogs, and I have lots of friends who are in TNR, and I do volunteer and support some of our local rescue, and I wanted to just share my experience with them, that they're such hardworking individuals. Many people pay their own money just to feed cats and take care of them. I have friends that take the sick ones to the vet, even, sending them to the Rainbow Bridge in a humane way. So a lot of these people have big hearts, and I agree with, everybody saying that, somehow cats got a bad rap. Everything got blamed on them, and it's not always their fault that something happened. And I'm so disheartened to see so many people in Hawaii that are cat or animal haters. This is really saddening to me. I definitely think education is be a good thing to do for the future generation. If the state can come up with some kind of education funding for, the school to bring up the next generation to be kinder to animals, to humans. I mean, there's statistics that people who torture and kill animals, some of them became serial killer. Also cats serve purpose. I mean, my neighborhood, I end up taking care of a lot of cats that were abandoned or somehow found their way, and they're all fixed and they are well taken care of. And, they're actually pest control. I mean, they bring me gifts, but I don't really want, but, they bring like dead rats and gecko, and I saw one killing centipede. So my neighborhood actually very clean. We don't have any rat problem. And it's nice to have no rats in a neighborhood, right? Because rats are, to me, carry the most diseases. I mean, look at Black Death back in the centuries ago, right? They're the one that causing all the disease, not cats. So maybe we should, education, just let people know that cats are not to be blamed for anything. If anything, they help us, they enrich our lives. I mean, when I come home, I have cats at home, and I looked at them and everything, all my stress from work melts away. And there's medical benefits to that. I think, having beloved companions. Last, I wanted to say that I want to thank all the rescue people in the community for their hard work. And if our government can somehow, allocate some funding to support the cat rescue, because it's really difficult for them to survive, and it's a loss. We recently lost another place that are helping place adoption for cats, Popokin Tea in Wailai Avenue. They had to fold because they couldn't make their operation expenses. Is really disheartening. Of course, the main thing for HHS and cat friends do a lot of fixing and spay and neuter. I have friends that wanted to catch cats, get them into their location, but they can't get any appointment from Hawaiian Humane Society. The next appointment is February. In the meantime, they can go and populate how many cats they are just by having to wait for several months. So this, I think we need several different ways to manage this problem, or I shouldn't say problem, manage this environment for the better good of everybody. Anyway, I just wanted to chip in as a regular citizen. And by the way, I'm on a Manoa neighborhood board, and I hope that maybe, all the neighborhood can work together, getting support. And I definitely will be more than willing to testify when the bill comes around. And I've done testifying for my neighborhood many times, so I'm familiar with the process. Thank you very much. Aloha to you all.
Okay, thank you so much, Patty. In the interest of time, I still will stay on for Dee and Jennifer, but if anybody needs to go, feel free to head out. I really appreciate your availability. I appreciate you coming together. Thank you so much. So if you have to go, aloha. I'll stay on the call to hear you out and answer questions. Dee, you're next. Oh, I'm sorry. Before Dee goes, Senator Gabbard, is there anything you'd like to say?
Yeah, I do have to take off. So thank you, everyone, for your input. And yeah, we'll continue to work on this and have a wonderful holiday season. Aloha.
Aloha. Mahalo. Mahalo.
Thank you so much for this evening. Appreciate it.
Excellent. Okay, so for those who have questions or wants to provide feedback, Dee? I see that Dee's not ready. Jennifer?
Yes, I just want to thank you for having this Zoom meeting here, and acknowledge that most of the people on this in this meeting are volunteers, and they don't get a dime for this, myself included. And we all have real jobs, as I call it, real jobs. So any help is appreciated. I think cat friends ourselves, since we did 6,000 a year this year, if we can get a location, I will be able to probably double that for next year. So the more funding we can get, or the main thing is I need to find a location, like just something that has plenty of parking and allows us to get in there. We would love to have like a clinic 4 days a week and actually make a bigger difference. That's all.
Great input. Excellent. Okay, everybody. I thank you all for your time. Thank you so much for being here.